The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Variety Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericavariety.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Crime Prevention 101. We're so happy you joined us this week. Over the next hour, you'll learn the tips, tricks, and vital information that will help you keep yourself confident and safe. Now, here's your host, Susan Bartelstone.
Hello there. In case you're not sure where you are, this is the Personal Safety Radio Show with an optimistic perspective on a sober subject. I'm your host, Susan Bartelstone, and I'm so glad you've joined me today because, you know, it's always my great privilege to spend the next hour with you, helping you keep yourself safe. And I've got such an interesting and informative show for you today. First up, ever since I interviewed a guest back in December who became a private investigator and tracked down a man who had molested her two daughters, I've been thinking about becoming a private investigator myself. So I've been interviewing different PIs on the show from time to time and talking with them about really what it's like as opposed to what you see on the TV and in the movies. So this is an encore appearance. My first guest, Bruce Sackman, who specializes in medical investigations, and he's been tracking down the bad guys for more than 35 years, including the infamous Dr. Michael Slango, who's believed to have been involved in the poisoning of up to 60 patients and colleagues. Now, this week, Bruce and I are going to be talking about the crime of medical identity theft. And if you don't know what that is, like I didn't when Bruce mentioned it on the previous show that he was on, you really need to learn about it and how you can protect yourself from it. Because if you become a victim, it can ruin your life, and I mean in a deadly way. And that's why I've asked him to come back and talk about it in more detail. Next up, I'll be talking with Mark Shuey, the inventor of Cane Fu, which is an inventive self-defense system that he teaches all over the world to disabled veterans, seniors, or anyone who walks with a cane. But wait, there's more. We're going to be starting off the show with our True Crime Report with Tricia Griffith from WebSleuths.com, which is the largest and best, I think, independently owned true crime forum. And she's going to talk about what's hot on the forums this week. And last but not least, we're going to do my favorite segment, Let's Catch a Criminal, where I feature a different Crime Stoppers group each week. And tonight I'll be speaking with John Broad from the Crime Stoppers of Michigan organization. Can't wait for that. Maybe we can help them catch a bad guy. So anyway, without further ado, let's bring on Tricia. Hi, Tricia.
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for having me on again. I love this show. This is such a wonderful thing that you're doing, and it's great for everybody. So thank you from all of us at WebSleuths.
Oh, well, every time you're on the show, I get such great response from my listeners. So
that's great.
I know.
I love it.
Yeah, there's a lot of amateur detectives out there who want to solve those cold cases. So
I think everybody has a little drop of amateur detective in their blood, and that's one of the things that makes WebSleuths.com so vibrant. Is the community, is everybody who joins in. And let me just start off by saying, if you want to play detective and get involved, come to WebSleuths.com and register. It's all free. All we need is an email address, preferably not a free email address. And then you become a member. You can join in and see what we do. We have lots of cases. And one thing I want to talk about today, one case in particular, is a case of a boy named Jason Jawalski, okay? And his mom has started something called Project Jason. Now, let me just tell you. In June of 2001, Jason, who was 16, he was heading to work, right? Going to work. He said, "Bye, Mom." And he was walking to work. I believe he was walking to the bus stop to get on the bus. and his older brother saw him doing what he was supposed to do, take the garbage cans to the curb. That boy has never been heard from or seen again. They don't believe he made it to the bus, so somewhere between his taking the garbage cans and going to the bus, he has disappeared. And I mean, when I say there are no clues, there are no clues. Can you imagine how your heart would just die? I could not deal with it. But somehow his mother, Kelly, has found the strength to get up every day and to fight the good fight. Now, this was in Nebraska where this happened. And when this happened, Kelly went to the police, and back in 2001, anytime a kid went missing, unless it was a really small child, they just would say, oh, he ran away, on and on. And they kind of did that to her. They says, oh, well, we'll wait. And she's obviously very upset and saying, no, he was on his way to work. He's a responsible kid. There's nothing in his past to suggest he would run away. And what she found was that there were no resources. Like, she didn't know who to call. She didn't know who to get in contact with. She didn't know who could help her. So she started something called Project Jason. And it's been a very difficult go. And all she wants to do with Project Jason is when a parent of a missing child goes to the police will have one sheet of paper there. They can hand it to the parent, and on that sheet are the resources of the people to call that could help, volunteer organizations, volunteers, people like Kelly that they could call on for help and support. That's what she wants to try and do. And believe it or not, that's what she's been fighting for since 2001. The police were not for this. Now, their side of the argument, my understanding, and I see a little bit of their point, is it would look like they were endorsing these groups. Mm-hmm. And as being a government entity, they couldn't endorse it. I'm sorry, you were going to say something, Susan?
I was going to say this is needed. This is
very much so.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised it wasn't already there, number one. Yeah. And number two, I'm surprised that the police didn't say anything. Give us anything, Kelly. We'll do it. But no, it's been an uphill battle. Now, since 2001, Kelly has developed a great relationship with the police, and they have been very, very helpful. And she has been doing, getting a lot of things done in Nebraska. Also in Nebraska, there was the case of a little girl named Amber who got off the bus. She was 12 years old. They have a picture of her, a movie of her getting off the bus, video, and then never seen again. Found later, about a month or so later, dead. She had been raped and murdered. Mm-hmm. What had happened was the police, again, decided, she's just a runaway. And her mother is like, no. Now, the problem with this case, with Amber's case in Nebraska, is the dad was a felon. So the police, I believe, even though they won't admit it, that they went, this criminal, family, they have problems, she just ran away. Well, she didn't. There was a convicted sexual predator living right close by who kidnapped and raped her. The guy that killed her, get this, had fathered children with, his daughters. I mean, this is what type of sick person he was.
Another sicko.
And they kept letting him out. Well, anyway, Kelly worked with Amber's family very closely when Amber went missing, and she was instrumental in getting the police to pay attention, to say, look, I don't care if the dad is a convicted felon, this little girl deserves your attention. Mm-hmm. She didn't run away. I don't care how bad her home life was, she didn't run away. And unfortunately, she didn't. Now, the sad thing is, there is a few things to suggest that Amber might have been kept alive for a little bit. So maybe if the police, if the police had acted sooner,
they might have found her.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. But the good news is, and again, I'm just talking, this is, I believe, Omaha, Nebraska, if I'm not mistaken. I actually went there to help search for Amber, and the police were absolutely wonderful. And, we have to realize, too, Susan, that this is all kind of new territory for the police, too, because since the beginning of time, they were told, wait, is probably a runaway, wait 48 hours, on and on. Now they're getting to change. Now they're seeing that they can't wait, especially when it's a child. But we have to give the police a lot of credit. They want to help. They don't want to do anything bad to us or to harm us. So we've got to help them understand that, we need to work together, and if a child goes missing, even if it's a child, listen, Susan, even if a child is a runaway, that child is still in danger. It doesn't matter that they ran away on their own. They're still in danger. They need to be found.
And you know what, Tricia, by the way, I've got a guest coming on in a week or so, and he's a private investigator that looks into these kinds of cases, and he said there's absolutely no law or anything else about waiting 24 hours. It's just it's just kind of local custom or something. And if your child goes missing or you're looking for someone, you can demand that they don't follow any such thing. It's not a written law. That's right, and your guest is absolutely right, and that is where the change is finally happening. Is people are realizing it's not a law. It is what the police want to do. Now, the fear is if they react like this on every single case, it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. When a real, true case comes along where they need immediate action, it's just going to be another runaway or somebody staying at a kid's house, So that's kind of their side of the argument is, well, we can't treat every case, as a dangerous, in danger, stranger danger kidnapping. Well, no, I understand that. But any child that's missing is a child in danger. End of story. And you can't wait 24 hours. That's just all that does. It's, what is it, Mark Class says, a mile a minute. That's how quickly your kids get taken by a predator. So if you wait a day, add it up. That's how many miles that predator could have taken your child. So hats off to Kelly and Project Jason. You go to projectjason.org, and you will see the great work that Kelly has done. And I'm going to ask your listeners to pray for Kelly that she gets some resolution in this case. It would be wonderful if he ran away and we're still alive. That would be great. Yeah. But, there's just nothing in his anything to suggest he ran away. Very frightening, very scary. There are people out there that take kids, as we have seen with the J.C. Dugard case. They take kids and keep them. So all of the options that I'm sure go through Kelly's head are very terrifying and very frightening. So let's pray for Kelly that she finally finds her son and gets some resolution. And bless her, she's up every day fighting the good fight. I'm telling you, Susan, I don't think I could do it. Well, I give her my hats off to her, and I will be putting her in my prayers. And make sure to check out WebSleuths.com and add your voice to the forums, because there's lots of great crime prevention information there, too, on that website. Well, Tricia, thank you so much again. Thank you. And we're going to be talking to you next week about the true crime community and what's going on there. Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely. Now, my wonderful audience, what do I need from you right this moment? I need you to stay tuned, because when we come back, we'll be talking about medical identity theft and what to do if you've been a victim and how to find out if you've been a victim. And we'll be speaking with private investigator Bruce Sackman.
Talk, talk, talk. That's all we do is talk. If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787.
That's it.
VoiceAmerica.com. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.crimeprevention101.com for more information. Streaming live, the leader in Internet talk radio, VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
Hi, Susan Bartelstone here. And there's plenty of show left to tune in for. So please start tweeting about us if you're on Twitter. And don't forget that you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook, because I really would love to have you as a friend. Now, let's meet my next guest, Bruce Sackman, and talk about medical identity theft. Now, Bruce has over 35 years of experience in the medical investigations field, which is a very unique kind of specialty. And he worked primarily for the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs and has conducted or supervised hundreds of investigations in various healthcare establishments. His cases have been featured on the Discovery Health Channel, CNN, MSNBC, America's Most Wanted, to name a few. And one of his most high-profile cases was the infamous Dr. Michael Slango, who was estimated to have been involved in 30 to 60 fatal poisonings of patients and colleagues. You may remember this case. I sure do. Bruce currently resides in New York City, where he serves as the president of the Society of Professional Investigators. Hi, Bruce. Welcome.
Hi, Susan, and thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Now, this is an encore appearance for you, Bruce, because you were on the show a little while ago for me, a couple of weeks ago, and during the show, you very briefly mentioned something about medical identity theft. And I had never heard about this. I didn't know what it was, and truthfully, I was really shocked. So I said that to you, you have to come back on and talk about this. So first of all, tell me, what is medical identity theft?
Sure. Medical identity theft, I guess a textbook definition, would be something like the theft or unauthorized use of a person's personal information to obtain medical services. And how this comes about is that someone gets a hold of your personal medical information and starts to receive medical benefits that eventually get billed to you. And one of the big differences between medical identity theft and the regular identity theft that we usually think about is that medical identity theft can actually kill you. When we talk about identity theft, we usually refer to the financial consequences. But medical identity theft can actually have a physical consequence. And you may not be identified as a victim of medical identity theft until it's too late, until some harmful treatment could occur to you based on erroneous medical data that may be in your patient file. It's very scary, Susan. Very scary.
So you mean somebody steals your identity, they go and they have medical procedures, and that medical information, I mean, as you, and that medical information is then put into your charge. And then when you go to the doctor, all that stuff is in there that might not pertain to you.
Oh, absolutely. And there have been too many cases, unfortunately, where the real patient shows up at the medical center only for the doctors to pull out a file that has a different medical history than the patient who's actually there. You know, uncovering medical identity theft is actually pretty difficult. It's more difficult to uncover than credit card fraud, where sophisticated software is used to look for unusual buying patterns. You know, you ever get contacted from American Express or some company like that, and they say, "Oh, we've noticed you've been using your card a lot, and we've noticed it's been used in other places around the country, and we're just calling to verify if that's accurate." But you'll never get a call like that from your healthcare provider. You know,
we see you had another operation. You know, it's like, no, I guess that's not going to happen.
No. You know, also, nearly all financial institutions utilize one of the credit reporting agencies, but there's no national data bank for medical records, and therefore your medical card can be used anywhere at any time. And every time your thief uses your medical identity, it creates a record with their info that could be mistaken for yours, a different blood type, a history of drug or alcohol abuse. And many times you don't find out about it until maybe you get a bill in the mail. Now there are certain things that you could do to try to protect yourself against medical ID theft, but I could tell you they're not absolute. The first thing I would recommend.
Let's hold that for a little, because I got a couple more questions I want to ask you about. And I want to also pick up on this, how you could be responsible for money that wasn't reimbursed. But
that's right.
First of all, how prevalent is medical identity theft? Is it a big problem?
It's an ever-increasing problem, and the reason being that there are so many people in this country that do not have access to health care. Really, the only way they feel they could get it is by stealing someone's identity. And that's certainly one of the reasons why medical identity theft occurs, but it's not the only one. I mean, sometimes we see the intentional alteration of medical records by healthcare providers who just want to increase their billing. I mean, if I'm a healthcare provider and I have your information, I could bill your insurance company, and you never even met me.
That actually, by the way, it didn't happen to me from a stranger, but a doctor that I was going to started billing the company for visits that I didn't make. He was a chiropractor. Yes. And I got these notices that the company was paying him, and I finally I called him and I said, why am I getting charges on here? Because I didn't see, my company was actually paying him, and he was obviously not billing me for what, the remainder, what they didn't pay, but I was getting statements on it. And he ignored me, and I finally, my provider was Oxford, and I finally called to Oxford, and I said, here's a list of all these I'm sending you, all these visits that he's claiming I had that you paid for, and I didn't. I didn't see him. So that wasn't even, at least I found out about that one. How do you find out if a doctor that you don't know is billing you? It's impossible.
Well, eventually what will happen is that you should get a statement from your insurance company. And what happens is it's very important to read the explanation of benefits that the insurance company sends you after service has been provided. A lot of people will look at that and they say, well, if I don't owe any money, I just, who cares? I'll toss it away. Mm-hmm. And that's not good. That's not good, because there could be services on there, even though maybe you're not being billed directly for them, that weren't given to you. So it's very, very important, as you just pointed out, to read that explanation of benefits that the insurance company sends.
Yeah, I was really adamant when he refused to answer my inquiries about this. This is just fraud, out and out fraud, and I wasn't going to stand by for.
When you're looking at that explanation of benefits, it's important to look for the name of the provider, the date of service, and the service provided. For instance, if the document says your local surgeon, Dr. Jones, performed surgery on you on a certain date, and you were actually on vacation in the Bahamas that day, mm-hmm. There's a problem.
Yep.
There's a problem. Very, very important to do that. Because like I said, there are a number of people who are out for your medical identity, and it could be a family member who maybe is not eligible for health care. It could be a drug-seeking patient attempting to get prescriptions in your name. I can't get those painkillers anymore, but boy, if I got Susan's medical ID, maybe I could use that, and maybe I could use that to actually get some painkillers. Or, like I say, anyone just looking for free medical care, or anyone looking to sell your personal information. Or something interesting, what we're finding out, there was recently a report from organized crime investigators in South Florida, which is probably the medical fraud capital of the United States, in large part because all the seniors are there.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but it makes sense.
And this, they're saying, organized crime is saying, this drug business is awfully dangerous. Why don't we find a new business? Why don't we find why don't we go into the medical identity theft business? And this is how we're going to do it.
Oh.
We're going to send people that have no criminal record whatsoever that could pass any background investigation into medical centers. And we're going to get them employed there. And they're going to be employed with the sole purpose of stealing medical information that we could use to sell or give to corrupt physicians to bill for. This is a new problem. We actually see organized crime getting involved in the medical identity theft business.
And it is so easy to get a patient's information because they use your Social Security number on all the charts. They leave these things lying around, as well as, address and birth date and almost everything that they need. What can we do to prevent this? How do we do this? This is so hard to even find out it's being done to us, but what can we do?
Yes, it is very difficult. And again, I would say the first step is to read that explanation of benefits that the insurance company sends you after service has been provided very, very carefully. Look for the name of the provider, the date of service, and the service provided. Make sure it was you. Also, periodically, check your credit reports. Is there an unpaid bill listed? If so, investigate. If your medical card is lost or stolen, let the 3 credit bureaus know about it, as well as your insurance carrier. A lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people seem to guard their credit cards more than their medical insurance card. That's not such a good idea. You should guard them all. If your medical card is lost or stolen, don't limit advising just your medical carrier. Also let the 3 credit bureaus know. And the 3 credit bureaus are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And all 3 must know that your medical card is lost or stolen.
That is really good advice because I never would have thought about that.
And most people do not until it's too late. You have to protect your card and all medical insurance information, just like your credit card information. If you have something you don't need, don't throw it in the trash. Shred it. Mm-hmm. It's very, very important to shred it because people pull things out of the trash.
Bruce, this is so important. I can't believe that we don't have more time. Is there any way that I could twist your arm to maybe write up some of these tips? And I will post them in the show notes to the show, and I'll put it on my website and on my Facebook page, because this is just so important for people to have.
Well, can
I do that? Okay, and if you want a little input from me, I'll be happy to do that too. And I also want to know how we can get the doctors to stop using our Social Security numbers. Maybe we could tackle that one, and just do something on that.
Well, that's very interesting. There is a whole movement now for electronic medical records, and we'll see what direction that takes us. And it's very debatable whether that's going to help or hurt medical ID theft.
Well, indeed, because they can break into if they're not secured properly, they can get them out of the computer. But in any event, time has flown, and I thank you so much for being with me today. I really learned a lot, and I'm so glad you came back to talk about this with me.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I hope to see you at the next SPY meeting.
Absolutely.
All righty.
Coming up, do you think you have to be a sitting duck for criminals just because you're old or disabled? When we come back, you'll find out how a cane can be used as a powerful weapon to protect yourself.
Talk, talk, talk. That's all we do is talk. If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787.
That's it.
VoiceAmerica.com.
Hi, this is Susan Bartelstone, host of Crime Prevention 101, and I want to tell you about My Mobile Witness, a revolutionary service that transforms your camera phone into a personal safety device. My Mobile Witness believes safety is improved when you remove anonymity from dangerous scenarios. If you're in a stalking situation, for example, if you have an order of protection against someone, or if your profession places you in situations that are potentially dangerous, I want you to check out My Mobile Witness. And you parents of college students, ask the school to check out the My Mobile Witness University program with custom-tailored options aimed at keeping both students and faculty safe. Every campus could benefit from the My Mobile Witness University service. For more information, go to mymobilewitness.com.
The Internet's #1 talk station. #1 talk station. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
This is Crime Prevention 101, and I thank you so much for tuning in today. And don't forget that I also have a website, crimeprevention101.com, where you can find out more information about show topics and all my wonderful guests. I post links there so you don't have to search around for them. Now, my next guest, when Stephen Colbert of the Colbert Report profiled Mark Shuey, the creator of the Cane Fu combat system, he said, like a danger pig rooting out fear truffles, Shuey is turning America's seniors into killing machines. Now, I'm not sure what a danger pig is, but this 61-year-old martial arts and self-defense master has been traveling all over the world, teaching his American cane system at senior centers, retirement communities, disabled veterans organizations, and to other martial arts teachers as well. He says that in 2 years, the number of instructors who presently teach his system has tripled to about 300. And one of his 60-year-old students, and I'm not really sure you'd call him a killing machine, but he said, nobody thinks of a cane as being any kind of impressive weapon. But I'm disabled, and I don't move really well, but I can do this. So, Mark, welcome to Crime Prevention 101.
Thank you. It's great being here.
I can't wait to find out more about Cane Fu. But let's talk a little bit about your martial arts background and how Cane Fu came about.
Well, how far do you want me to go back? I've been doing it about 45 years.
Okay, well, we only have about 10 minutes, so start about.
I started with the Chuck Norris system back in the 60s, late 60s, and moved on from there. I took one of his students, one of his teachers, his name was Neil Citron, and went on to Taekwondo and then Hapkido. And Hapkido introduced me to the cane. I had to go for my third-degree black belt in Hapkido, I had to do some cane techniques. And, of course, I was so macho back then, I did my cane techniques and put the cane down because it was a cheap drugstore cane that you could buy anywhere. And then back in the 90s, I was in a dojo working out. The dojo is a place where martial artists work out. And I looked around, and I was playing with this big cane I had, and it's a lot stronger, and I was realizing that I was the only one that could leave the dojo legally with what I was carrying. And the cane is a great medical device, and it's also, we have a complete exercise system with it now, and rehabilitation system, and a complete self-defense system. And it's an awesome self-defense system that you can carry anywhere in the world.
Now, I understand that a cane has a surprisingly long history as a weapon.
Yes, over 5,000 years.
So
the last couple hundred years have been kind of hidden because who wants to take a cane to a gunfight? But it was definitely one of the major weapons back 3,000-4,000 years ago. Romans, Egyptians, and if you go a little history on it, in the 13th century, if you banished your cane, which is swinging it around, if you were by a king, queen, or a czar, you were beheaded. In the 1600s in Europe, you had to have a permit to carry a cane. And today, you're a gimp. So I'm trying to change things again.
Well, I think I remember seeing in all those old movies that fashionable gentlemen used to carry them just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
Maybe
in the early
wanted
1900s, it was fashion. All the gentlemen had canes.
Maybe they also learned how to do cane foo back then. I don't know.
Well, they had one gentleman who had a small program going, but it wasn't very big. But there's nothing here that I've invented. I just bring it back and I make a stronger cane. A little more stories. My dad was about 150 pounds overweight, and he had bad knees, and the doctor gave him one of those aluminum canes. He would not use it because it looked so geriatric, and he slipped, fell, broke his hip, went to the hospital, caught strep, and died.
Oh.
And another big thing that influenced me, I was seeing my brother in Palm Springs, and 3 ladies over the age of 65 were raped, and 2 of them had canes. Didn't realize what they had in their hands.
I didn't know a thing.
So,
now, well, I'm so glad because I'm a martial artist as well. I've had about 17 years of it, but I know how special objects, common objects, can be used. But I wanted to just point out that you're saying any cane can be used for self-defense.
Of course, yes. I just built a stronger one. I make custom canes myself. I used to be a general contractor and love playing with wood, so I make nice custom hardwood canes. But anything in your hand can be used as a self-defense device. You just have to learn how to use it. A cane is great because it's 3 feet long.
Mm-hmm. And that means they can't get too close to you.
That's right.
You've got that weapon. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, we'd rather keep them at cane's length and have them up close and personal on us.
You're absolutely right.
Now, are there any particular candidates that are really good for learning cane foo? I mean, who would you advise?
It can be used by anybody. Our program is set up so it's for people who have never had any self-defense, because the statistics say that only 2% of the population has had any kind of self-defense. So I designed my curriculum for people who have never had any self-defense, so it's easy for them to learn.
And you're not just reaching out to seniors. You're also reaching out to disabled veterans.
I've started a nonprofit. In fact, the paperwork's going in today, and it's called the American Cane Master Foundation. And we're mainly going after disabled to start with, and then focusing on them and senior citizens. Because the seniors, I've been to 100 centers, and they don't have any money. So everything's going to have to be done by grant work and stuff to get this stuff out to them.
Oh,
the seniors are really hurting.
That's fantastic too, and I've also been hearing stories about the veterans coming back, and particularly if they're reservists, they don't have access to the same medical facilities like that a veteran of the Army would have. They're kind of thrust into their local community medical system, and it's not the best. So
I've been hearing a lot of stuff like that. It's not good. So I'm trying to get out to the people I can and get it out there. So because people they put me in the AARP magazine, and I was getting over 100 calls a day from seniors who were scared to leave their house because of what's going on out there. And it's I feel good that I'd be able to help them. And then now they can leave their house and we'll go for walks in the park because they're not afraid anymore.
Have you done much work in New York City? Because that's the scene of the crime here for me.
Well, I do have a couple schools out there. In fact, another school signed up last week. New York started to come in there. I have about 4 schools out there right now that are teaching. And they're all waiting for this program because the seniors that need the help don't have the money. A lot of them are volunteering time. We have like R.S. Mitchell out in Maryland. He's got 8 senior citizen centers that he's doing for free. And you can only do that so long, you know. So that's why we decided to come up with the foundation to try to get grants to help the people.
And where are some of the other places that are also teaching this system?
Well, I have a lot of places in Florida, probably about 12 or 14 schools, and I get sign-ups all the day. People are calling every day to want to become an instructor. We have 3 different levels of instruction on that, the cane foo being actually the easiest to obtain. What we try to do is get the people to start doing the cane foo. They get strong enough, and if they really like it, they can get into the martial arts system itself, which is called the American Cane System, like you said. And the cane foo is kind of the beginning stuff for seniors to get them strong again. I've had a lot of seniors that are graduating from walkers back to canes because the exercise system is awesome. I even had a 10-year-old kid who couldn't walk, and is in Colorado, and that and physical therapy, and he's now playing with the cane in martial arts.
Fantastic.
Go ahead.
All right, we're going to talk more about how I can help spread the word on this after we do our show, and I'm going to hook up with some of these people in New York and go down and see what they're doing. Just talk a little bit about what kind of techniques do you teach people to do with the cane? And I realize this is radio, but
well, there's thousands of techniques. It depends on the situation. We have just simple techniques. You hit them between the legs. If the guy is trying to kill you, if you hit somebody with the cane with one hand, you're probably going to kill him, because with the adrenaline that's flowing and everything else, you hit somebody in the head. It only takes about 15 pounds of pressure to crack a skull. Mm-hmm. I try to teach them to do that as a last resort. I start them with the legs so they can't chase you or do anything. You whack somebody in the shin pretty good with a cane, and they're not going to be following you. They're going to be limping. Same thing with just a good poke to the chest. Mm-hmm. Good poke to the chest will crack the sternum. And a tap on the collarbone. It only takes 7 to 10 pounds of pressure to crack a collarbone. I don't want people to go out there killing everything. I just want them to be able to protect themselves. And I do emphasize to the seniors, because some of the hospitals are worried about it, because some of these old guys are grabbing some of the nurses. So I really tell them, this is for your self-protection and helping you get around, not for, tying up nurses.
Exactly. That's a good caveat there, Mark. So you're teaching them to focus on certain vulnerable targets.
Yes.
And
because the best place is to strike if you can. You hit somebody anywhere with a cane, it's going to hurt. Mm-hmm. Of course, there's better spots where you're not going to cause too much damage, but make it so they can't, bother you anymore. Right, and you kind of want to really get them out quick, because you don't want a long, drawn-out fight with them. No, you just one or two techniques, 3 at the most, you should be done with the problem. Usually the first one, unless the guy is on a lot of drugs or something, he's not going to be chasing you after you whack him. Just like teaching the people how to do a twirl a cane or swing it over their head. When they have an attacker come at them and they see his things twirling around their head, they're going to figure out it's not a crutch anymore. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different ways just to stop the aggression that's coming on, which I try to teach them first. Try to stop the situation. If that doesn't work, and then you've got to take care of business. Now, do you also do a little bit of groundwork in case they fall? Because some of them really don't have a lot of good balance. We have balancing techniques. We have a brand new book out. It came out last week called Cane Fu, and it shows them balancing, it shows them strength techniques. The exercise system has to do with stretching, has to do with resistance work with a band, so they get a lot stronger, has isometrics and isotonics. It's quite a hard workout. I've had kids that are 25 that couldn't complete the workout. I mean, it can be tough, depending on how strong the person wants to get. Now, what's the name of the book? Cane Fu. Okay, and how can people get in touch with you to find out about taking a class or become a trainer or get the book? Well, the phone number is 800-422-CANE, which is 800-422-2263, and the website, which is CaneMasters, CaneMasters.com. Okay. Great, fantastic. Now, Mark, listen, when you come up with some techniques for walkers or wheelchairs, I'm going to have you back. All right? Well, we do have the cane for the wheelchairs. We have a place out in Canada who's having a lot of problems with panhandlers. The people are on their scooters. They can't get, they're robbing them as they go by. They won't let them by. So the guy who does the sheath that goes across the back puts the cane back there and gives the guy a whack. Love it. I'm working on it. Okay. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being with me today. I think you've opened a lot of eyes for people that thought they had no options if they were old or disabled. Now, this is Crime Prevention 101. Coming up is my favorite part of the show, where I talk to one of America's Crime Stoppers groups, and we try to help them solve a crime.
News, opinion, your voice counts. Call toll-free 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. VoiceAmerica.com. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartelstone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime, How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.crimeprevention101.com for more information.
Stimulating talk gets those synapses in the brain firing really fast.
All the time. The #1 Internet talk station where your opinion counts. VoiceAmerica.com. You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now, back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartelstone.
This is Susan Bartelstone. And I want to remind you that Crime Prevention 101 is available on iTunes, so you don't even have to be at your computer to listen. Now it comes to my favorite part of the show, where I talk to one of the people from the Crime Stoppers groups. And today we're talking with John Broad, and he is a successful and civic-minded businessman who's been active for many years in community improvement initiatives. He started the Alliance for a Safer Greater Detroit in order to help reduce crime in Southeast Michigan, and its signature project was the Freeway Courtesy Patrol, which was so successful that it's now operated by the Michigan Department of Transportation. And currently, John serves as the president of Crime Stoppers of Michigan, and he's trying to empower people to make their neighborhoods, schools, and businesses safer through the anonymous reporting of crime. So welcome, John, to Crime Prevention 101.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I love Crime Stoppers. Now, for those people who don't know what Crime Stoppers is, just kind of talk a little bit about what it is.
Basically, Crime Stoppers is a way that people can give information about a crime or the location of a fugitive anonymously, no one knowing, and given to Crime Stoppers in turn forwards that to a particular law enforcement agency and then follows up with that agency in terms of the investigation of that information. If the information leads to an arrest, then the person that gives the information is anonymously provided with a reward.
And I think that's really important to know, because sometimes people are scared to report something that they see in their neighborhood. They're afraid that they're going to be tracked down. And this is absolutely, they can do it without any fear of being identified.
Right. In a way, what happens when they call 1-800-SPEAK-UP, they're actually reaching a call center that's outside the country. So it's not even in the United States.
Oh, really?
And there's no caller ID. There's no law enforcement. They're there 24/7. They take calls in English or Spanish. If it's a different language, they ask the person to call back the next day, and an interpreter is patched in. So there's no concern in terms of giving that information. If there's an arrest, then the reward is paid anonymously, and they simply go to a bank and pick up their reward without identifying themselves in any way.
Fantastic. So that's one of the reasons that it's so successful.
Yes.
Now,
and again, sometimes it's not the fear. There's always the fear that somebody's going to kill them. That's obviously worse. But often people are just concerned that somebody's going to take the car key and scratch the side of their car as a way to retaliate or something. So there's a lot of folks that are reluctant, and yet we encourage everybody to call the police if you feel comfortable doing that.
And the other thing I wanted to bring out, by the way, is that you're not a police officer, so you don't need to be in law enforcement to start or to get involved with the Crime Stoppers program.
No, you don't. There is no one on our staff that's a law enforcement. We have one individual that trains detectives, and he's a retired police detective that goes around and speaks to various police forces, but there's no active law enforcement either here in our offices or at our call center.
I think that's really important for people to know because they can, we want people to encourage them to form Crime Stoppers groups. Of course, you have to work with your local law enforcement, but you don't have to be law enforcement.
Right.
So now, let's talk a little bit about your particular group, Crime Stoppers of Michigan, or is it Michigan Crime Stoppers? Or
Crime Stoppers of Michigan.
Okay.
And we basically cover the 7 counties of southeast Michigan with Detroit at the heart of our region. Our tips now are 4,000 a year, that was up from 3,200 the year before, so it's a real dramatic rise in tips. We receive tips about crimes in Detroit and about crimes in the suburbs. About just under 60% of the tips that we receive are about tips that are about crimes that are in Detroit, and the other 40-some% are for tips, crimes that are in the suburbs.
That's a pretty big area that you're covering.
Yes.
Actually.
Right. But there are other Crime Stopper organizations that have almost that large of a territory. But a lot of them are just attached to a single police department.
Okay. Now, does Crime Stoppers of Michigan have any special programs or initiatives that you'd like to mention?
Well, one we're particularly proud of is the program that we have in the prisons in Michigan. And that includes a television program in a special way that prisoners can call Crime Stoppers. In most prisons, calls are monitored. And obviously, our brand is about being anonymous. So they actually have signs next to every payphone that says to call anonymously 1-800-SPEAK-UP, dial 767. And so that works very well. And then, of course, the inmate is interested in a reward. Well, the reward is not paid in the prison. They either wait until their time is up and they claim their reward, or they give the tip number to a relative, and that relative picks up the reward.
I was going to say, because some of them might have to wait, 25 or 30 years
right.
for that reward.
So that. And again, the relative may put some money back in their account, their prison account, so that's helpful too. And the other thing is that we have what's really exciting is we have a television program that's in the prison that is shown to the inmates twice a week. And about 95% of all inmates have television sets, or all cells. And
really?
Yeah, and it features 84 unsolved crimes, and it's changed out every week. So there's other crimes that are on the next week. So they actually get like a little America's Most Wanted program kind of thing in their cells? Yes, although it's not a reenactment. It simply shows a picture of the victim and a picture of the crime scene with a voiceover that describes the crime in more detail and then talks about the reward for solving that particular crime.
Well, that's terrific. I've talked to a number of Crime Stoppers, by the way, of groups by now, and one of the things that they all tell me is that a majority of people don't even collect the reward. They don't even want that reward. They just want to help.
Right. About 50% of our rewards are actually picked up.
Isn't that something? I think
that is.
Yeah, to me that is so heartening. I say it all the time, but it's not about the money.
It's about having a safe neighborhood. And if you don't have a safe neighborhood, and this doesn't work, that what we see so often, particularly in Detroit, is people who don't feel safe move. They cannot continue to feel unsafe. So if they have the resources to do it, they will move to somewhere where they feel safer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, do you have a particular case that you'd like to give some information about? And hopefully some of my listeners in that southeast Michigan area might have some tips for you.
What I would rather that they would do would be to go to our website, 1-800-SPEAKUP.org. And on that website, there is a very long list of crimes that need to be solved and fugitives that need to be located. The good news is that you can put a zip code in. So if you just go to Power Search and put your zip code in, or a zip code where you're interested, it will give you pictures and information about unsolved crimes in a way that you can also make a web tip. And a web tip is equally as anonymous as a phone tip. So it's very convenient to do.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's right, I forgot. You don't have to just call in. You can actually go to the website and do it online.
Right. Or you can text the tip to 274-637, and you have to include in the body CSM, stands for Crime Stoppers of Michigan.
Terrific. Now, there's also a campus Crime Stoppers in your area?
Yes.
And how is that different from the regular
Crime Stoppers? It's in a couple of different, very important ways. If the police and regular Crime Stoppers, there has to be an arrest in order to get a reward. For campus Crime Stoppers, which is high schools and junior high schools, all the police have to say is that tip was actionable. They took some sort of action, not necessarily an arrest. And the student or person that called in that tip is eligible for a $100 reward. It also does not go through our reward court. Just once that happens, as quickly as we can, we anonymously find a way to get that reward to the tipster, the student.
Fantastic. Well, John, thank you so much for being with me today. That number again was 1-800-SPEAK-UP, and the website is 800speakup.org. I appreciate it so much, your being with me.
I thank you very much for talking to us.
My pleasure.
Together, we're all going to make this nation a little safer. So.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things we're trying to do with Crime Prevention 101.
Thanks, Susan.
Well, now I'm going to be putting a link to all my guests on my voiceamerica.com host page and on my blog site, Crime Prevention 101, as well, so that if you want more information about any of the show topics or links to my guests, you can get it directly from there. And you know what? It's a wrap for now. But never fear, because you and I will be doing the same thing again next week. I'm going to have more stories for you that demand to be told, more interesting topical topics, and, of course, lots of tips and resources. It'd be a crime not to listen, so stay tuned and stay safe.
We hope you got some useful information and inspiration this week on Crime Prevention 101. Susan Bartelstone invites you to join us again next Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific at 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on Voice America. If you want to learn more about Susan's guest, sign up for her newsletter, or find out about upcoming teleseminars and workshops, go to www.crimeprevention101.com today. Have a great week and a safe week.